Hold button.
Button on.
Thanks.
So you're walking down the block, so, you know, it's, now it's real.
Is it?
Walking fast. Walking
Oh,
fast.
okay. Oh, perfect. Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday, September 18th, 2024 meeting of the Quincy Planning Board. First, I'm going to do the call to order. Member Shaughnessy?
Ali Shaughnessy here.
Larry Luzo, present.
Kimberly Beelen, present.
Richard Mead, present.
Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived, by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. The board requests that you please be courteous to the proceedings and turn off your cell phones. We have two public hearings tonight and then a business meeting agenda. Relative to the public hearing, the planning board reserves the right to administer oaths, summon witnesses, call for the production of papers, cross-examine any person giving testimony during the proceedings, declare recess, limit debate, inspect the subject site or buildings during reasonable hours, and adjourn the hearing for cause. The order of business will be announced by the chair. All questions should be directed through the chair. Any person wishing to speak, please raise your hand for recognition. When recognized, please stand. State your name and address, your specific interests in the proceedings, and special credentials, if any, pertaining to the presentation. Please speak slowly and within the context of the hearing matter. The hearing is being stenographed and taped for the public record. The planning board reserves the right to exclude any unnecessary, irrelevant, repetitive, or harassing presentations. The first item on the agenda is to vote on the minutes of the August 7th, 2024 planning board meeting. So,
I'll move to approve.
okay,
Second.
okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. So that's unanimous. The first item on the agenda is a continued public hearing for 29 to 31 Newcomb Street, Planning Board case number 2024-06.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Gordon Glass. I'm an attorney with Johnson & Borenstein, a land use law firm located at 12 Chestnut Street in Andover. I'm here tonight with Carlos Scolti, engineer and principal at Civil and Environmental Consultants, as well as Tim Johnson, principal and our architect on the project. We have the pleasure this evening of representing 2931 Newcomb Street LLC with regard to their proposed project at 31 Newcomb Street, where they propose to expand a two-family dwelling with 14 additional dwelling units. We're here seeking a site plan approval from this board, as well as approval for the parking layout under section 5.1.17 of the zoning ordinance. It's our second time before the planning board. We haven't been here in a few months, so we thought it would be prudent, if not for the board's benefit, at least for the public's benefit, to kind of reintroduce the project and the conditions around the project. And then I'm going to turn things over to Carlos, who's going to start taking the board back through the fine details of the project. So, as a reminder, Quincy is a gateway municipality, which means the state has designated it as a municipality with a population between 35,000 and 250,000. It's a mid-sized urban center where economic attainment and education are slightly below average. It's one of only 26 such designated communities in over 200 municipalities in the Commonwealth. There's been parallel designation from the federal government with two large opportunity zones designated in Quincy, which are similarly zones where the federal government has identified there's opportunity for economic growth due to the below average economic conditions in the area. So that brings us to the site and the project itself. The site is a slightly over a quarter acre parcel near downtown. It's improved by a existing structure, two-family dwelling that was constructed in the 1860s. That's a non-conforming use right now. We'll be before the zoning board in a couple weeks to discuss that. We're proposing to transition that to a conforming multifamily use with 16 units. So In short, what's happening with this project is a proposal that 14 units of studio-style apartment living be introduced to the property. There was some question about this the last time we were before the board, but we're talking about units each having their own bathrooms, each having their own kitchens. This isn't Airbnb or transient housing or boarding rooms. This is leases, apartment housing, annual leases. We're proposing these within 1,500 feet of the Quincy Center MBTA station. We're asking this board for 16 parking spaces where 24 required. That's one parking space per unit. We think that's fitting considering the size of these units and the nature of these units as workforce housing and the proximity of these units to the MBTA station. We're also offering covered bicycle parking to further incentivize the use of public transit. So we think what we're proposing here is a timely project in the right place at the right time to support Quincy's critical workforce, members of its workforce. And with that, I think we'll turn it over to Carlos to go into the finer details on the project. But I will add that we are happy that after engaging back and forth with the town's peer review consultant and the city's peer review consultant and the city's comments, that we've received a favorable recommendation for the project from the planning department. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you changing these, Joe, or is it with the controller?
Yeah.
Okay. Good evening. Carlos Sculte with Civil Environmental Consultants. We're the civil engineers for the firm. Our firm also took care of the land survey services as well as landscape architecture as well. So just to recap where we are in the process, so we were in front of the board a few months ago. We presented the project, went out for peer review. We received an initial round of comments from EBI Consulting, the city's peer review engineer for the project. We revised the plans, provided some responses in response to those comments, as well as comments that we received from the Department of Public Works, as well as the city's traffic department through TPAL. And we've incorporated revisions based on those comments back to the city. And the peer review, final comments that we got from DPW, as well as the peer review engineer, indicated most of those issues were addressed. There were a couple outstanding smaller items that we just wanted to touch on tonight, understanding that those would hopefully be something that we'd be okay with addressing prior to construction. The recap of the site layout, as described earlier, there's an existing building currently on the site, a two-family that you can see in the front of the site. It's the lighter shade, the white building in the front. It's an existing two-family structure. The stone wall, there's a granite wall along the frontage that would remain, as well as the walkway and essentially the facade of the building as you see it from the street would remain as it does today. The improvements largely consist of a new parking area on the right side of the page, which is actually the north side of the page, as well as the new structure that's in the rear of the property. It's a 14-unit addition, compliant with the setbacks for the zoning based on the height for the development. Some of the things that came up during the peer review were just confirming that the access worked for ADA compliance both to the front door as well as the back door of the building. So we clarified some ramp access to the rear of the building, as well as coordinated a few small indiscrepancies that we had with the site plans as it related to the architecture to make sure that those aligned for the final plans that were submitted for the town. So what we have are 14 parking spaces, including the accessible space on the right-hand side where the majority of the residents will park. And then we have a smaller access on the left-hand side of the building, which is intended more for short-term deliveries, drop-offs, loading, pickup, things of that nature. It's also where we have the trash pickup located. With the revised submission that we made back to the city and the peer review consultant, we identified turning movements for both the passenger cars in both portions of the parking areas, as well as a trash pickup for the trash service for the residents on the left-hand side of the site. In order to facilitate that, there is enough space to make a U-turn in that, so you could pull in and essentially roll out that small dumpster that we have that would be fully enclosed, be able to be picked up by a truck, and then the truck would be able to make a K-turn, U-turn, and leave the site. If for whatever reason there were somebody parking in one of those temporary spaces that we have on the side there, we would be able to roll that out to the street and avoid any sort of backup maneuvers across the sidewalk. So there's considerations that could be incorporated into the loading of the trash pickup there. We had also identified some refinements to the snow storage on the site as well, just identifying areas on site where there's snow storage, understanding that this is a urban area. The client intends to contract with a snow storage management company that would provide those services if there was a large enough storm that there wasn't enough space on site to stockpile and still maintain the sight lines. They would take that trash and dispose of it off-site, so they would take it off-site. So that would be part of the snow management contract as well. So a recap of the existing conditions again. We have an existing building. The majority of the parking is on the left-hand side and the rear of the site. We're consolidating again on the right side. The image on the right is the demolition plan, just showing a little bit more clearly that we intend to reconstruct the entire frontage of the property with a new curbing as well as new concrete sidewalk and appropriate ramps for the driveways at both ends, ensuring that the public right-of-way is ADA compliant as well. From a grading and drainage standpoint, there were some requests to add a little bit more detail as it relates to the topography into and out of the building. So we added additional spot shots just to ensure that it was ADA compliant. And then we also added a little bit more detail as it related to the stairs and the entries into and from the existing building, as well as the proposed building, with more detail on the ramps. And just a little bit more refinement on the design of the project, which was reviewed by the peer review consultant. We understand they had no more questions as it related to the grading or the stormwater management. We would connect the entire building to the subsurface stormwater detention system with a roof drain system, so that would be part of the stormwater management system as well. From a utility standpoint, there were a few just comments as it related to straightening out some of the utilities to eliminate a few bends and some cleanouts. So we updated the sanitary sewer system layout a little bit and consolidated the electric and telecommunications, as well as clarified that the intent for the building to be run on electric. So there's no new natural gas services proposed. Ultimately, you know, the client wants the ability, should conditions change over time, that if there is a need for natural gas and it still meets the building code, to have that flexibility to look at that in the future. Any sort of gas meters, if they were installed, they'd be located in the rear of the site, so out of the sight line of the development. But as it's currently proposed, they intend to have the addition of the electric and just existing natural gas services serving the existing building that's there today. There are commitments also to perform closed-circuit television inspections of the existing sanitary sewer and the drainage systems along the frontage. That was one of the comments made by Department of Public Works throughout the review. It's a pretty standard condition. The applicant's aware of that requirement. And then also questions about the water service to the site as well. We'll work with the city and the DPW to make sure that adequate pressure is available. Run the hydrant flow test, which we would usually do prior to construction, to make sure that the flows and the pressures there within the system to be able to serve the design once the fire suppression and the water design is a little more refined as the project moves along. The landscape plan, we included a graphic of the proposed landscaping. It'll be a mix of some deciduous trees, some grasses, some shrubs, providing some variety and some additional interest along the frontage, in addition to the existing stone walls that are going to be maintained to keep that character that's there today. And then providing additional buffering around the rear and the side of the property lines as well to the abutters in those areas. There are fences located on the left and the rear and the right side of the building. So essentially it's buffered with permanent screen fencing. We would be supplementing that with vegetation that would grow a little bit taller over time as well. And as part of the analysis, took a look at the walkways, working with the traffic engineers. It relates to the distance to the T. So just under 1,600 feet from the site to the T. So certainly looking at that as a site that's close to the public transit, close to additional facilities that would be suitable to walking distance, not only to the high school that's right around the corner and the Y and other amenities, but to community transit hubs as well. So with that in mind, that the parking was designed in order to accommodate a share of folks that would be living there that would be taking public transit, as well as those that would be parking on site. And as part of the project and the traffic memorandum that was submitted originally, there would be transportation demand management elements incorporated into the project to encourage the use of public transit. As mentioned earlier, there would be bike racks located along the front of the building that would be covered as well to extend the life of those a little bit longer throughout the season, protect them from rain and the elements, as well as encourage the use of bike transportation. And information for the residents as well that helps with that public transportation element as well. We touched earlier on the trash management for the site. Again, 16 units. We don't anticipate there would be large containers. It would be something closer to the one that you see on the bottom there, on wheels, fully enclosed. We'd be able to move it out to the street if we needed better access in that area. But again, there's sufficient space to allow for maneuvering in that parking area on the left side of the building. And then there's a preliminary construction management plan that talks about all the traditional things, demolition plan, rodent control, construction sequencing. There's space on the site, on the larger parking area, where they'd be able to stage on site. They'd be able to work from that portion of the site without having to occupy the public way, which we know is a concern with the school nearby. So there's ways to construct the building while minimizing impact on the public right-of-way. Ultimately, a lot more detail will be provided. It's part of the construction management plan that gets submitted to the building permit prior to the building permit applications as well. With that, I'll turn it over to Tim Johnson to speak about the architecture.
Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, members of the board. Tim Johnson, the project architect. This is a current view of the building, circa 1860. Let me try to see how this works. Oh, there we go. Sorry. And so here is a view of the building from the north end, the north side. There's the existing automotive facility on the right side of the project. So on the architectural, I apologize in advance if I overlap a little bit with the previous presentation, but I will be brief. The addition renovation to the 2.5-story two-family building, circa 1860, will create 16 dwelling units. The renovation of the two-family will include upgrading the building to current energy codes, new windows, et cetera, water heaters, Energy Star water heaters, of course, high-efficiency heat pumps. The addition in the rear will be a 3-story, 14-unit addition, basically approximately 48 by 48 feet. This will house 14 units. 6 will be one-bedroom units, approximately 350 square feet average, and 8 will be one-bedroom units, approximately 550 square feet average. This will be marketed as workforce housing. They will all be rental units. Let's see here. This is the site plan showing Newcomb Street is on the right side of the sheet. As Carlos, the previous presentation, we're showing the new parking on the right side of the project, 14 spaces, and the exclusive use driveway on the left side for the 2 visitor spaces, trash removal and deliveries, Uber, Eats, etc. We're also providing some covered bike storage on the front right of the existing 2-family building. And we'll also locate some interior bike spaces as we develop the drawings. This is type 5A construction, which would be very, very appealing to local general contractors. So this could be money that will stay in the city. It would be a great project for a small to mid-size construction company locally. Let's see if I can move this here. So all the units on the ground floor of the new project, of the new 14-unit building, will be wheelchair accessible. All the units will be Group 1 dwelling units, which will provide the appropriate clearances for a person in a wheelchair. The existing 2-family, 2 families are exempt in the state of Massachusetts from 521 CMR. So, but it will be sprinkled now along with the new 14-unit building. So we'll be adding that extra fire protection to the entire project. Just some shots of the interior studio feel of the project. Murphy bed, the studio units will have Murphy beds, which are not like your typical Murphy bed. These come with built-in cabinets and the spring system that will make it easy to lower and put back. So it's more of a cozy feel that the client will develop within these units. Each will have a kitchen, including a garbage disposal, which will compact our waste volume, and of course a full bath, and whether it's a one-bedroom or a Murphy bed. So we will, for the exterior finish materials, will be looking to tie the two buildings together using traditional materials as a lap siding, whether a 4 or 5 inch exposure, standing seam metal roofing, of course, new Energy Star windows, which are now required to not only have a U of less than 0.3, but also solar heat glare coefficient of less than 40. And we'll have grills, shutters, and this will begin to tie the two buildings together, reducing the height of the building with the two roof expressions, which would be the mansard and the gable. We are also providing electric charging stations on the right side parking area. And here are some shadow studies taken at the 2 solstices and 2 equinoxes at noon, showing minimum shadow to the abutters, to the residential abutters on the left and rear, and just minimal shadows to the commercial building on the right side of the project. We have a photometric plan. We are following the Dark Sky Initiative, which will, all exterior lighting will be downlit and shielded. We'll be using warm LED lights, which have a blue light, which doesn't travel far visually. So you can see our photometric study there. Really want to keep all the light pollution on site and not in the neighbor's yard. And on conclusion, I'll hand it back. Do you have a conclusion? Somebody does, but it's not me. Vote for me, that's a conclusion. It's a great project. Thank you.
Let me just see if anybody has any questions. Yes.
As far as when you guys are doing the construction, have you made any arrangements for the construction workers to park like across the street, or are they gonna be parking within the area of your work site, or is everybody gonna park during the construction itself?
Right. Carlos, did we do a construction management plan here?
No, we haven't. I think,
That's a pretty,
Nope.
that's right near the high school, right? So it's a pretty busy
It is.
street.
It is. So, let me get back to this. So, this doesn't have it. The majority of the on-site parking will obviously be on the right side for deliveries and/or parking. So we have you can see we already can park 14 cars there. So we're lucky to have that space for staging and contractor parking.
So you think that that's sufficient for bringing in all the construction equipment? When I say the construction equipment, the material, so you're gonna like bring in all your wood and everything, and then the guys are gonna have enough room, guys and girls are gonna have enough room to park during construction?
I would maybe offer that we're not gonna be using that exactly as it's laid out, and it's not gonna be suitable for all 14 parking spaces during construction, right? Because to your point, we're gonna need some of that for laydown, for
Right.
storage and other
Exactly.
areas to circulate. I think with a lot of the projects, you're not able to park all your construction workers on the site that you're actually working.
Typically, you can't.
Typically, you won't be able to.
Well, you're talking only about a 6-person crew for this project.
Right, and I think we'd be looking at folks for, to use public parking, whether it's on-street designated areas, not necessarily on the street there, directly in front of the project, but in the vicinity. There's parking garages within walking distance that the city owns and operates, and, you know, over the course of the construction, I think they would have to rely on finding that public parking someplace if it's not available on site, if they're
So
not the first ones there.
I appreciate that, but my point being, it's a very busy street during the school year.
Yep.
So if your construction workers, and I know you may only have like 6, okay, so the 6 bring cars and so forth.
Mhm.
If all those 6 are parking out in front of it, Now a dump truck comes in or a trailer with, you know, long, wood material on it or something like that, it's just gonna create even more traffic on that street. So to encourage the guys beyond saying to them, go to the parking garage, make it the deal. Like, you guys are gonna work here at the job site, get your tools unloaded here and go park at the garage. And at the end of the day, bring your cars back, take your tools, whatever, so you're not taking up the public parking space for the people that already live anywhere near there.
Yeah, no, I think that's totally
You know what I mean?
appropriate.
Just so you're not pissing off the neighbors, you know?
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense, and we're happy to include that in the construction management plan as well, to make that a condition as part of what the construction looks like.
Excellent, thank you.
Couple questions. Is there existing fencing along the perimeters of the, and if not, will they be built?
There is, you can actually see in the photo. Down the left-hand side,
Okay,
there's
yeah.
a pretty dense vegetated shrub down the left-hand side. So we're respecting that buffer, so we're maintaining as much of that as possible. And then there's a fence that starts about halfway down the
Yeah.
property, down the left-hand side. That's about a foot into the abutter's property, so we're maintaining that as well.
Okay.
And then along the back, there's some existing screen fencing as well as some small stone retaining walls. We're keeping all that. We're not touching any of that, so all that's gonna remain. We're gonna supplement that with the vegetation that we have along that edge. And then down the right-hand side,
Right,
we are including a fence that runs along the new parking that we have along that edge. And then it basically ties in to the existing garage that's in the rear portion of the building.
Okay.
And that is shown on the landscape
I
plans.
saw it on the landscape.
Yeah,
I just wanted to.
There's a little bit of a lag here, but it is on there. So we are providing not only just that permanent screen with the screen fencing, but with vegetation as well.
Lighting in the driveways will there be lighting?
It's building mounted,
Okay.
in addition to, let me just touch on this while the plan was up here real quick. I can show you the fencing again. Yep, so you can see down the left-hand side, we have the existing fencing with the vegetation along the edge, and on the back, we have a fence that runs along the entire back side of the building. And then you can see down the right-hand side, we have a new screen fence being added that will stop short to make sure that we have the right sight lines of the street leaving. And then for photometrics, most of the building, or most of the lighting for the site will be building mounted. It's gonna be mounted high enough to be able to cast a good light. And then there'll be two low bollard mounted lights at the entrances that highlight the entrance points for cars coming and going, so you can see where those driveways are a little bit better. And that was highlighted on the photometrics plan. Come on, here we go. Sorry, I could walk up there, it might be a little easier to see. So you can see based on the lights that you have here, there's the kind of bright points here. There's, at the entrances, there would be two low-level bollard mounted lights that highlight the driveways, and the rest of it would be building and mounted casting out.
And duration of construction?
12 to
Anticipation?
12 to 16 weeks.
Okay.
Any
That's all?
question? Any questions? Okay, I have a few myself. I think that there was a distinction made between visitor delivery driveway versus resident driveway. Are you going to denote that with any small signage, like on the residence one saying residents only, or anything like that?
I don't know if we've discussed that, but I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, we certainly can either with striping or signage, just to identify that those would be intended for that short-term use as opposed to, longer-term spaces for the
Yeah.
residents.
We can certainly have that.
Okay. Electric charging stations, you said, I think there's going to be some, I just didn't know if you had kind of a number contemplated at this point?
Do we have a number?
I think we were gonna have two, I don't recall if it was on the latest plans, but there would be essentially, it would be pre-wired to allow for expansion if needed, so we'd run the conduit and the wiring for at least one electric car charging station that would be in the vicinity of where that handicap space was. And then if the needs dictated additional electric car charging, we could expand because the conduit and the infrastructure were already there, and you just have to pull it in the landscape spaces.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd have to double check the site plans, but that's the intention.
And just first come, first serve for the the residents, basically?
For
of
the parking
apartment.
and the car
Yeah.
charging, yeah.
Okay. And then just the other question, I just didn't know if you had, I guess, an elevation plan of that visitor bike parking with roof over? Because I think it's shown on some plans, but not others. I'm just trying to get, I guess, visualize what that,
There's a good point. I don't think it's on these renderings, but it was on the renderings that were submitted on the site plans. I
Okay.
think inadvertently,
Yeah.
is a slightly outdated rendering that got included here.
Should be shown right here.
so I guess at what height or approximate height is the roof on that?
It will continue at this horizontal bed.
Okay.
And we use similar brackets as the canopy, that one's with the canopy.
Okay.
So we try to integrate it as an original architectural element to the building.
And that doesn't interfere. I think it is at least a space for it on the landscaping plan. I was just trying to make sure that those matched up and,
There was, yeah. So we
Okay.
identified a 12-foot wide concrete pad,
Yep.
which I think was wide enough for 6 bikes to essentially 3 bike racks. You would be able to double load those. You'd be able to have 6 bikes basically parked outside. It doesn't interfere with the accessible path as you walk into the building as well. So we look at the space planning from that standpoint as well.
okay, great. Thank you. It is a public hearing, so let me see if anybody has any public comment. Is anyone here wishing to speak on this matter? It's Planning Board case number 2024-06. Yes, sir. While you make your way up, I'll also just note there's sign-in sheets on the side in case anybody wants to sign and say whether they're for or against. And if you don't want to come up and speak, you don't have to, but you can also sign your name that way.
Hi,
Hi.
my name's Stephen Holichuk. I live at 11 Francis Avenue, which is a street perpendicular to Newcomb Street. Just wanted to clarify some things about the earlier discussion about parking. There's no parking on Newcomb Street at all on either side.
You hear that, guys?
Yeah,
So, there you go.
There's no parking on either side on Francis Avenue. There's limited parking on Spear Street, which is usually pretty well taken up. I believe there's no parking on McGrath Highway, and there's limited parking on Covington Street. So I think the concerns that you expressed earlier are well taken, and I just wanted to factor in the information I just gave, because a plan does have to be developed that would really work in the real world. And like I said, there's no parking out front, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would anyone else? Yeah.
Tom Stansbury, 32 Newcomb Street. Saying to Rob, this has been about 8 years that we've been working on this to get this project done, and finally, it's come to fruition as what we requested as a city, the neighborhood, to keep this in compliance with the neighborhood. So seeing it finally being done, last month we also acknowledged that we were in favor of it. And again, like I say, the traffic, because of the school, again, is horrendous, morning and afternoons. And there's never been any parking on Newcomb Street because it's just a narrow street. And they kept it that way when they changed Spear Street around to make that a one-way. But I'm glad to see for Steve that this is going to go forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here? Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Kevin Christian. I live at 20 Granville Street. I'm a direct abutter in the rear. Just have some general questions about the project. Hopefully these folks will be able to answer. It looks like there'll be 16 units, 14 new units put in on a third of an acre. Is there any type of variance that's required for that, given that it's such a small lot?
So sir, if you could just direct the questions first,
Sure.
and then we'll get answers.
Sure.
Yeah.
Any type of variance required for that, the number of units in a third of an acre? Also, just would like some clarification on the setback in the rear. And if possible, what the exact height would be. I know it's 3 stories, but what the height would be. And in addition to that, and I apologize, I haven't had a chance to look at the plan, but what the shadow study would be, how it would affect my property in the rear. Also, given that, I know it came up in the meeting that there is fencing in the rear. However, it's at least 20 years old and it's in very, very poor condition. It's dilapidated, specifically where it abuts the property on the other side of Granville Street. So I just wanted to bring that to the attention. And also, if you could get some clarification on the hours of construction and any type of rodent study or mitigation plan that might be needed. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, and we'll get answers to those. Some of those we can answer ourselves, probably. Okay. Do you want to address this?
Yeah, I think some of these are better for the rest of the team, but just to address the variance question, we are going to be before the zoning board in a couple weeks, and we need a lot size variance or a finding, considering this is a pre-existing non-conforming lot. However, the proposal for the multifamily housing doesn't require any variances because that is a permitted use by right in the district. I think we'll get some follow-up on some of these other questions, but unless I'm mistaken, the height of the building is 30 feet above grade and the rear setback is 7.5 feet, which is also zoning compliant and requires no relief from the zoning board.
Do you know the date of the ZBA hearing, just while we're here?
Yeah, it's October the 8th.
Okay, great.
Okay.
So to answer the question about the setback, the rear setback,
So you're located on this side of the project, sir.
the required rear yard setback is 1/4 of the building height, which is 7.5 feet.
So we provide 7.5-foot building setback at the rear of the property, so we do not require zoning relief for that. North is this direction, so the sun is gonna rise in the east and come around this way over your property. So most of the shadows are gonna be starting over here and coming around this side of the building. I can shoot any time of the day shadow that you'd like, but
I'm pretty confident no shadows will keep you off. But if I get your email, I can send you more shadows.
So the other item was just the fencing, too. Is the fencing that was discussed, is that on this property or is it on the neighboring property? Do you know?
I think
Who
the
owns
fence,
I
I think it is actually the neighbor's fence.
Okay.
So it's along the back edge here. So there's a fence, there's some stone walls and the fence on the high side of the stone wall. Because it was there and because that fence was higher than a fence that we would install would be, we didn't propose a new one. We are actually including a fence. In addition to the one that runs along the edge, there's one that runs along the edge of this parking area, which is a little bit lower. So if we needed to, we're happy to work with the abutter and see if there's, something to do there in order to repair that. Because we don't want the fence falling on our property or having other issues. So we're happy to have a discussion as it relates to how to treat that.
Thanks. And I will answer the other 2 questions, which relative to a rodent control is a condition of the decision, of every decision, that a written rodent control plan is submitted to the health department for review. And then relative to hours of construction, that's also a condition, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday and 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday. Would anybody else like to speak on this project? Okay. All right. Is there a motion to close?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor? Aye. And does the department have a recommendation?
Yes, we do, Madam Chair. Before I read it, I'll maybe finish up a few more of the comments here. In addition to rodent control, you'll hear me also recite noise and dust control measures. The hours of operations are contained automatically in the back end of our decision. I don't read those out. But I also want to point out to the parking question as well. In the event that a project seeks and receives relief on the parking requirement, the city's traffic, parking, alarm, and lighting department has worked on a policy that in the future, if future residents seek overnight resident parking on Spear Street for this particular project, they'll not be granted an overnight parking sticker. You know, that is usually the condition on new construction with parking relief. So that's a further kind of measure that if there is, you know, additional parking, those residents are gonna need to seek alternative means, you know, not on Newcomb Street. So that's a further clarification that I think we would help and the department supports. With that, after consideration of the site plan, accompanying documents, and the comments received from the city staff, the department recommends the board approve site plan review under Quincy Ordinance Title 17, Section 9.5.1, site plan review, and special permit under Section 5.1.17, parking waiver, subject to the below listed special and general conditions. Special condition number 1, the applicant shall comply with the City of Quincy Inclusionary Zoning Ordinance, Section 7. The applicant shall submit an IZO application to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Committee prior to the issuance of a building permit. A decision by the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Committee shall be made on the subject property prior to the issuance of a temporary or final occupancy permit. Number 2, the applicant shall obtain all necessary variances and, if applicable, special permits from the City of Quincy Zoning Board of Appeal. 3, the applicant shall reconstruct the sidewalk for the entire property frontage along Newcomb Street with a cement concrete sidewalk, broom finished with border and tool joints, and granite curbing as specified by the Department of Public Works. 4, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the applicant shall obtain a drain permit. 5, 1 week prior to any land disturbance activities, the applicant shall conduct an on-site inspection with the City of Quincy or the city's designated representative to observe the erosion controls installed at the site and review the erosion controls anticipated to be employed during construction. 6, the proponent shall notify the city engineering office for the purposes of inspecting the construction of the stormwater management system at the following times: upon completion of excavation, upon completion of chamber and crushed stone installation, and prior to backfill. The applicant shall provide at least 72 hours notice of said inspections. 7, the existing pipes, sewer main, and manholes on Newcomb Street shall be inspected with television pre- and post-development in order to check the condition of the system. The television report and video clips shall be submitted to the city engineer for assessment. 8, prior to the issuance of an occupancy permit, the applicant shall submit an operation and maintenance plan for the project stormwater system, which shall include the location of all stormwater BMPs, the location of snow storage areas, and the maintenance plan shall be recorded at the Norfolk Registry of Deeds. 9, the applicant shall consult with the Quincy Health Department on noise mitigation measures for project-related noise-generating activities to comply with local and state regulations. 10, the applicant shall submit a written rodent control plan to the Department of Health for review and approval prior to any site activity. Said plan must be designed for the duration of the project and include at minimum the following: name and contact information of a licensed pest control operator to be retained by the project proponent for the duration of the project. B, a scope of proposed plan for control of rodents, including number, location, and frequency of monitoring bait stations, and the anticipated length of service. And C, a summary of actions to be taken to prevent rodent problems at the construction site. Special condition number 11, the applicant shall develop and submit a written dust control plan to the Department of Health for review and approval prior to any site activity. Said dust control plan is to be implemented during any site activities to ensure compliance with state air quality regulations. 12, the applicant shall submit a construction management plan to be filed and approved prior to the issuance of a building permit. This shall include the locations of stockpile and/or staging areas for construction equipment and materials. The applicant shall also address construction period traffic impacts by providing a detailed sequence of construction and addressing any space constraints and detailing how they'll be addressed as construction progresses. 13, the applicant shall submit an AutoCAD file for the project prior to the issuance of a building permit. The file should be in Mass State Plane Coordinate Systems and preferably in Quincy Standard Data Layers. 14, upon completion of construction, the applicant shall submit a report including certified as-built plan from a professional engineer or surveyor certifying that the stormwater management system has been constructed in accordance with the approved plans. The report should include a certification that the excavations of the proposed system were inspected prior to backfilling. Applicant shall also provide to the city engineer the digital file as-built plan showing all utilities, building footprints, reference bounds, and benchmarks defining the total site, facilities, and rights-of-way, along with an AutoCAD file. The as-built plans shall be in Mass State Plane Coordinate Systems. The plan should be stamped and signed by a professional land surveyor or professional engineer. 15, upon completion of the project, the applicant shall submit a stamped affidavit from a registered professional engineer that all the utilities, water, sewer, and drain are constructed as designed and no illicit connections are found on the completed project site. That would conclude the department's recommendation.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? No? Does anybody have a motion?
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve the project based upon in accordance to the department's recommendations.
Second? Second, okay. So that was Member Liuzzo and Member Mead. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So that's unanimous.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thanks, Ron.
Thank you for your time.
Okay. So the next item on the agenda is public hearing, 79 Coddington Street, Planning Board case number 2024-09. This public hearing shall be conducted to review the application of South Shore Young Men's Christian Association, 79 Coddington Street, Quincy, Mass. 02169 for site plan review under Quincy zoning ordinance Title 17, Section 9.5.1, site plan review, and special permit under Section 3.1.3, major non-residential use. The applicant proposes to construct a two-story, 11,000 square foot addition to the existing building to provide for additional office and gymnastic space. The proposal will also include professionally designed drainage controls. The property contains approximately 416,855 square feet of land and is located at 79 Coddington Street. The subject property is located within a Business B zoning district and shown as Assessor's Map 1113, Lot 27. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Caitlin Safer, and I am the Branch Executive Director at the Hale Family YMCA. Thank you, Madam Chair and board members, for having not only the Y, but my team here this evening for the proposed addition to the Hale Family YMCA right on Coddington Street. So we are proposing a two-story, around 10,000 square foot each floor addition to the back of our building, which is an extension of our existing field house. And the first floor will be congregated offices for the members of our staff for better collaboration and communication. It will also incorporate a group exercise studio on the first floor. And that is not only to feed the need in the city of group exercise classes that we are seeing over the past year, but also to assist with the teens that are utilizing our facility. As you know, that the high school is located right across the street. We're a great community partner, so the teens flood over. So Monday through Friday, starting at 2:30, we average about 400 teens in that field house. And so the expansion will certainly help the need within the community to have the teens have a place to go after school. The second floor will be a gymnastics center. The city of Quincy currently does not have a gymnastics center. There are some dance studios and some cheer studios, so that would be a great add to the city of Quincy, not only to the South Shore YMCA. And I think with that, I'm going to turn it over to my team, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Brandon Lee from Kelly Engineering Group. You can go to the next slide. This is an area of the existing conditions of the site. To the north is Coddington Street. To the east is the car wash, Scrub-A-Dub, McDonald's, Roxy's. To the south is McGrath Highway. And to the west is Newcomb Street. The site currently consists of a two-story South Shore YMCA, total 118,000 gross floor area. There are currently 377 parking spaces. The zoning requirement is 140 parking spaces. There's an existing loading area to the south of the building, a playground, Entrance to the building is to the left. There's access via Coddington Street as well as access via McGrath Highway. There's also existing stormwater management system to the south and the east of the building. The proposed addition will be located within the existing loading area. You go to the next slide. One more. So here's the proposed addition to the south of the existing building. The proposed addition is 2 stories, 11,000 square foot footprints. We will be reconstructing the existing handicap access ramp that's going to be proposed to the left of the proposed addition, and then that connects to the existing sidewalk. We'll also be constructing a new loading dock to the left of the addition. There's also a new 12-foot wide emergency gravel access drive for fire access located to the south of the addition. The proposed addition will result in a decrease of 6 parking spaces to a total of 371 parking spaces. The zoning required parking is still met, which the required parking is 140 spaces. So we have plenty of parking on the property. There's also a existing EV charging station that's located where the addition is going. So that EV charging parking space is going to be proposed to the left of those 2 handicap stalls. We're also relocating the existing dumpster. It's going to be located to the corner of the parking lot, kind of to the left of the page. And if you go to the next slide. So this is the site plan. The proposed addition will be located within a portion of the existing stormwater management basin that's to the south of the addition. So to mitigate that volume that the addition is on, we'll mitigate the exact same volume of the basin to the left, the parking lot there. So that's a new subsurface drainage system that has 2 head walls that connects to the existing stormwater basin so that the volume still remains the same. For the proposed addition, we have a new drainage system that's shown in those chambers to the south of the addition. The subsurface recharge system has been designed per Mass DEP stormwater management standards, as well as the City of Quincy stormwater ordinance. It provides peak mitigation, reduction in runoff volume, recharge volume. We also have water quality improvements with 2 catch basins there as well. We'll also be relocating the existing water line. It currently runs beneath the proposed addition, so it will be rerouted around the addition. The property is located within land subject to coastal storm flowage, and we've been through the Conservation Commission, and they've issued an order of conditions. So the site currently has 6 tide gates located within the existing stormwater basin. So the site has already been designed for the land subject to coastal storm flowage when the site was built, and all the tide gates will remain in place. The tide gates are there to allow flow from abutting properties into the stormwater basin. And there's also a tide gate from the outlet of the stormwater basin to the Coddington Street drainage system. That tide gate is there to prevent when high tide from Coddington Street the water would not flow into the YMCA. And thus, the stormwater management system was originally designed to hold the entire 100-year storm events. And we've continued to do that by mitigating the exact same volume. There's other multiple best management practices on the property. That includes porous pavement, proprietary water quality devices, in addition to the stormwater management basin and an operation and maintenance plan. The city engineer has reviewed the plans and provided comments, and those comments have been included in the order of conditions with the Conservation Commission. The comments are really to provide maintenance records of the stormwater management system, which we will certainly do. We also have a waivers list from the rules and regulations for a special permit under section 1.3 for a wind and shadow study. The proposed addition will be the same height as the existing building, so there won't be any significant impacts on abutting properties in regards to wind and shadow. Also requesting a waiver from section 2.6 for a landscape plan. There's existing landscaping on the property. One tree will be relocated. There's a reduction of parking on the property, so there's fewer parking spaces. A waiver for a photometric plan. Again, there's fewer parking spaces. The loading dock and the sidewalk areas and all the entrances will be lit with wall packs on the proposed addition. And the lighting will comply with the City of Quincy zoning bylaw. Also requesting a waiver from section 4 for a transportation impact and access analysis. Again, access to the property is via Coddington Street and McGrath Highway. And again, there's going to be less parking, still the same use, so don't anticipate a significant impact on traffic. We've also filed a special permit for the land subject to coastal storm flowage with the Zoning Board of Appeals. That hearing is in October. I don't believe they gave us an exact date of when in October. Does anybody have any questions?
Questions now? Okay.
Have you guys picked the general contractor yet?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Thomas Childs, and I'm representing Integrated Builders, and I'm the construction project manager as well as the design build manager. So I'm helping usher this through for design purposes.
So you guys are now signed on as a general contractor?
Yes, we're performing the work as a design build project.
Who built the big YMCA that's there now?
I don't have information on that. I don't know who the builder was for the original addition. We were involved in some initial work on that, but we did not end up building that.
I just have to fill in for my brother, John Kelly, who's not in, to remind you that we have tradesmen in the city of Quincy. And we'd appreciate any opportunity to try and help you out in building this.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Looking forward to that, too. If there's any other question?
No, any questions? I don't have any questions either. Let me see if there's anyone here from the public wishing to speak on this application.
I'm just gonna come up for a minute.
Yes.
I'm kind of pressed through the floor plans, too.
Again, it's Tom Stansbury from Newcomb Street. I'm the house just between the parking lot of the YMCA. So we're far enough away, I think, from this drainage and stuff. But I just want to make sure that this drainage that's going to be down there by the car wash and stuff is taken care of, and all that doesn't, would come up pretty far back to get to Newcomb Street. But we want to make sure that this is going to be absorbed down in that end and not flow down the other way. That would be my only concern right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom, I'm happy to have you here tonight. This is pretty good. You got a double header.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
That doesn't usually happen.
Nice going. We're
Yeah,
glad you're here.
yeah. It's going to be a short meeting, going to be out of here early. It's a win-win all the way around.
Glad you're here.
Anyone else wishing to speak on this? Okay. And I'm sure we can address that question if you just want to speak on that.
Yeah, I have a few remarks.
Okay.
Sure. So I believe drainage from abutting properties drain onto the YMCA. The stormwater management system for the YMCA goes to the stormwater basin that's located to the south and east of the building. And the discharge location is via Connington Street. So there's no stormwater discharge to Newcomb Street.
Thank you. Mr. Stevens?
Great, any more public comment, or?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I asked a couple times.
All right. Sounds good. Yeah, Madam Chair, through you to the board, want to thank Caitlin for coming forward early in this process. And she gave the department an opportunity to jump into some of the construction of the new facility a little bit more than 10 years ago. We clearly know there's a lot of wetlands that edge around here, and it gets close to the town river. There is some questions of to the, tidal influence and where those areas are. I think you heard the engineer mention some tide gates. So the department had organized a few meetings. One of them was with the city engineer's office as well as the inspectional services department. The special permit they're seeking would be the floodplain overlay, or the floodplain special permit. So the flooding has been our primary concern. Once we realized that the area for the addition was sort of undeveloped, it's almost as if they never built it 10 years ago and it's been waiting a little bit. They're not really digging into any new, vegetated areas. And as you can see, they've had to go ahead and add some additional stormwater. The department did request a peer review scope. We limited that to the stormwater systems. We figured that, the structure exists, the parking area is ample. They're not changing access points. No real need to jump into that full review, but the department should expect to see, or the board should expect to see, a independent peer review report of the stormwater system that will supplement what the city engineer's office has. And I would make the recommendation to the board that due to a lot of the early work by the Y, that the department would be comfortable with seeing this project in 1 month at the October meeting. So that would be our recommendation, would be to continue the matter to the October 16th meeting.
Great. Is there a motion to continue to that date?
So motion.
Okay.
Motion to continue to October 16th.
Okay, we'll give the second to Lara. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Great.
Great.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, and there's some business items. Stevens, just want me to walk through those?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have, I think everybody's seen them, endorsement of a few A&R plans, 46 Division Street, 29 to 31 Water Street, and 64 Brunswick Street. And then that's it for new business. For old business,
Throw that back to me.
yes, a vote to endorse the city's hazard mitigation plan update, and then the city's open space and recreation plan update. Mr. Stevens?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Earlier this year, in the spring, I think 2 separate meetings, the department organized presentations to this board on the city's update to the hazard mitigation plan, as well as the city's update to the open space and recreation plan. Those plans are in their completed draft form, and we're looking for a recognized body, government entity, which is the board, to simply endorse the department to go ahead and submit these plans onto the state agencies. The hazard mitigation plan will go to the MEMA office and then get sent on to the federal FEMA office. The open space plan goes into EOHLC, into their open space division. I've been with the city a while, I've seen this process before, so I would advise the board that what we'll most likely get is an endorsement with comments. And that endorsement with comments would provide the department an opportunity to make final tweaks to those plans, and then we would probably present those to the city council at that time, once they're endorsed by the approving entities. So I did provide in your packets 2 sort of endorsements. I'd be more than happy to read these and then I guess get a vote to endorse or to submit.
Should we do one at a time?
Yeah, which
Okay.
one's first? Hazard mitigation?
Yes.
All right. To the planning director, the Quincy Planning Board, upon receiving a presentation by the consultant Ty and Bond and the Quincy Planning Department on March 20th, 2024, and after review of the draft plan, supports the goals and objectives of the 2024 Quincy Multi-Hazard Mitigation Plan update. The plan includes a resiliency vision for Quincy, which empowers the residences, business, community, city leaders to make near, mid, and long-range changes that will reduce future climate change impacts, protect its vital community assets, and adapt to changes already occurring. The mitigation actions included in the 2024 Hazard Mitigation Plan complement and support this resiliency vision. The Quincy, and then the rest is just a formality. You know, at this meeting, we communicated, you know, this message. So that would be one.
So is there a vote right now, a motion to endorse the draft plan?
Make a motion that we endorse the plan.
Okay, so member Shaughnessy, member Mead, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The second one, again, another communication to the planning director, the Quincy Planning Board. Upon receiving a presentation by the consultant BSC Group and the Quincy Planning Department on April 17th, 2024, and after review of the draft plan, supports the goals and objectives of the 2019 to 2026 Open Space and Recreation Plan. The purpose of this plan is to guide the future management and development of the Quincy's recreation and open space assets in a sustainable and holistic way. The Open Space and Recreation Plan will continue the efforts of prior updates with renewed commitment to investing in city-owned open spaces, while also focusing on climate resiliency.
And is there a motion to endorse the city's open space and recreation plan update?
Motion to endorse the city's open space and recreation plan update.
Is there a second? Okay, so member Shaughnessy, member Mead again, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. And that concludes the planning board meeting.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Move to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Hi. Great. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.